Joy,
Hi.
hi. Freedom begins in the night, hey?
Yeah.
Mm. I don't want to give too much away, right? So set the scene, please. What's this movie all about? I've seen it summed up as a queer migrant drama. Apt enough?
Yeah, ultimately it's a love story. It follows this woman named Isio who finds herself in a removal center. And in there she finds love, she finds friendship, but also she has to make decisions and choices. But she finds herself. That's the film. It's a love story.
I thought Ronke and Anne, who played the lead roles, I thought they were brilliant, to be honest with you. Speak on working with those two and them executing your vision.
Ronke I met years ago. I actually saw her in a play. She was amazing. And Anne, I worked with on a short film a couple, 2, 3 years ago, something like that. They're two very different actors. Um, Ronke has this ability to almost like become the character, slightly methody. And I needed somebody who could just give me 1,000% in that role. And Anne is a bit more cerebral. She's quite measured in her approach. And for me, that meant that in looking at the characters that they play, it felt apt and right. But actually, what we also did was that we spent time in rehearsal. We spoke about their backstory. We found questions I hadn't even written down. We found elements in their relationship that weren't in the script. We had an intimacy coordinator rehearsal. We had a movement coach rehearsal.
Right.
Like these things to build the chemistry. Also, they were already friends beforehand. But for me, there was something about wanting to just show like two dark skinned women on screen. Because usually, even from when you're in rooms and people are like, oh, what about this person, that person? They usually like or mixed race, and you're like, okay, but there are many other actors around. So for me, it was about bringing those people as leads. But it was also about working with actors who I know have been around for a while and who were amazing and who were good. But for one any reason or the other, the industry hasn't given them that chance. And just showing like these girls are amazing, they can act and they've got chemistry. So I enjoyed working with them. They were fun. I mean, Anne did this thing on set where she asked everyone what they thought was the greatest pop song of all time. And she created this really cool playlist. But I think what was so beautiful about that was it was a way of bringing people together on set, a way of getting people to interact, but also it created fun because what happens is that somebody mentions a song and you all start singing. Similarly, Ronke's mum one day made us all food. She brought chicken, fish, plantain, jollof rice. We ate, we had a good time. But so for me, working with those guys just really felt quite joyful. And I think working with your people, sometimes it's so fulfilling and um, I don't know, fuzzy feeling inside.
The first 10 minutes are quite heavy.
Quite heavy, yeah.
Trauma at every turn, detained, bullied,
Yeah.
plagued by flashbacks, which at that point we didn't know why. A lesbian from Nigeria. I mean, it's loaded.
It's loaded.
On purpose?
Yeah, because so, you know, I I wasn't detained, but like I've been through the system. But I talked to people who were detained and I talked to them about their experiences. And everyone says the same thing. The first couple of days you're in there, you don't know where you are and you don't know what's going on. Somebody said to me that when she first came, the guard was giving her all the information as to like what she had to do. Like, there was a machine, you had to go order your food in. But she was saying like they're giving you all these things, but you're not listening because you're just like, where am I? And so she was saying about how she forgot to order her food. And so you go to the cafeteria and they give you whatever it is they have because you're in order. But it's like, but I can't, how do you expect me to order when I come in and I'm just hearing like different noises because people are traumatized in those places. People aren't like happy just walking around smiling. There's a lot happening. And I was trying to capture that experience sonically. And I wanted people to watch those opening 10 minutes and sort of feel like this is a lot. But as we go through it, we see how Farah helps her just settle. Because I think that's what love does. Love kind of helps you see things differently. Love helps you go, okay, maybe I just need to change my perspective and point of view. And so after that, it begins to like calm down a little bit for her. But the first 10 minutes, I do want you to be like, where the hell am I? What is happening? I want the audience to have that experience so they realize that when you read the papers or watch the news and they're telling you about immigrants and this and that, remember that experience because as a human being, we shouldn't be going through that, you know.
You kind of touched on it already, right? Because I loved how you played with the audio throughout. The chatter in the background, the keys jangling, the rain hitting the roof. Just a nod to the fact that these were women seeking freedom who were far from free. Kind of spoke on it already, but touch on that some more.
Yeah, I think sound was such an important thing for us throughout the film. We had this thing of we're hearing things as Isio sees. It's like first when she comes in, everything is loud, everything is chaotic. And as she begins to understand the place that she's in, as she begins to understand the system that she's in, things begin to mellow out. You know, the first time when somebody's deported and she's like, oh my God, what's that sound? Farah is fast asleep in her bed because she's so used to it. And she was like, this is crazy. Like, what do you mean they just deport you anyway, anyhow? How can you sleep through this? But she too begins to sleep through it because that's what happens. You get used to it. Yeah. And I think, you know, this space is like a prison. It's, you know, you're not allowed to go out, but there's certain prison-esque things about it. So I really wanted to, sound-wise, have her go through an experience of it's loud, then it begins to get balanced. And then when Farah is taken, it's quiet. Like, I think really tiny noises that you hear, but it's very much quiet because I think for her, she doesn't hear anything. For her, she's grieving. There's nothing for her to reach out to. And it's only when she's like, oh, maybe there's an opportunity for me to go find Farah, and she comes back into the world. And even when she comes back into the world, at that point, we've now even out the sound where it feels like a normal place to her. It's just like there are people talking in the background, but it's never, the volumes are never loud. Similarly with music as well, we wanted to just build slowly throughout.
So I did notice the absence of music or just the intentional use of the music. It was quite obvious for me, but brilliantly executed, I thought.
Yeah, it was, the idea of it was just like, I wanted us to just be a bit more with them and the sound design. And one of the things I said to my sound designer in the process was, the room with Isio and Farah, that's the safe place. So when she's in that room is when we're allowed to be quieter. When she goes out of that room, things are louder for her because I wanted to feel like the only place where she can have any sense of, I don't know, rationality is with Farah. You know, it speaks in the sound, also in the visual language, how the room is the warmest and the rest of the place is colder because I wanted you to feel like it is a love story and this is her person and you should be with this person. So the sound design was something that we really sort of like played with throughout. And even the scene where Farah's telling her story and you have the rain outside. I remember a sound designer, Mike, and I didn't know she did that until we got into the room because we had spoken about different things. And when I came in, she was just, oh, I've done this thing, Joy. I hope you like it. And I was, oh, rain. But the point of that, she was, you know, when we spoke about it, was really about finding the warmth and the softness in that story she's telling, but also creating atmosphere. You know, somebody's telling you a very hard and harsh story, but because we're so used to rain equating to warmth, you suddenly feel warm while she's telling the story at the same time. So there's all these things that we kind of spoke about, like what sound can do. And there's a bit when Isio is going to see a caseworker, and we included like a pen goes click click throughout the scene, and that was just to heighten his impatience and how he's just a bit like hurry up. And it's something that's subtle, but when you're watching it, it adds to how you read the scene and to how you interact with the man who we don't see. So all these things, I think, for me, like help to part of the word of the story. I always say like sound is the most important thing in film because you hear something and it gives you a feeling or a memory. You know, you hear a siren, you're like, oh my God, what's happening? It's just these things that I think are so important when we are watching or remembering things.
As with every good director, no shot was wasted. The references to the signage on the detention center walls, they weren't lost on me, particularly the poster that read, I'm so excited to go back home. Talk about your vision for how this element tied in with the message of the movie.
So when we first got with my HOD and production designer, we spoke about a color palette. I didn't want to create a film where it was bleak and it was just like, oh, gray. I wanted to tell a love story, and love stories are beautiful and they have color. And I was also like, I don't want to see these women consistently in like these drab clothes because they're immigrants. And I think there's an idea that if you're an immigrant, you just poor clothes, like you have like no color and it's cheap. But actually, a lot of these places give you charity clothes to wear. And so my costume designer Cynthia, she went to charity stores and she found all the clothes that they're wearing from charity stores because charity store clothes are actually colorful. And I was saying, like, you know, I grew up in Nigeria. It doesn't matter whether you're poor, you're rich. When you want to put on your clothes, you're putting on color. You will wear a random blue, bright shirt with like some jeans because I think color doesn't know race. It doesn't know, like, you know, your economic bracket. And these are things I wanted to just make sure were in the film. And so wanted to make sure like people had on colorful things here and there. But also, like I said, in the room, I wanted it to feel warm because it's about how their love grows. And so we spoke about the warmest it ever is when they have their dream house and the lots of light coming in the room. But also, that's because that stuff is not real. It's fake. It's the idea of a future you're never going to have. But that for me spoke to their love story. And then compare that to the rest of the space where it's kind of cold and it's a bit bleak, but you know, but still being true to like what these spaces are. So because with removal centers, people use they use old schools, old people's homes to convert them into what they are now. So sometimes you might get a random lavender wall because the idea is that they want to make you feel homely, so you don't feel like you're in a prison, even though you technically are in a prison. And they have these art rooms that are colorful and all these things. And so I want to try and emulate all of that. So my production designer, she had this great color schemes for like different rooms and different spaces. And in the cafeteria, we put this like reindeer collage on the wall because again, it's something that you do see. It's a little bit childlike-esque, but that's kind of what these spaces do to make you feel like you're not in a prison or the illusion of not being in the prison, even though you have guards who tell you what you can and can't do. So all these things, like, you know, even the poster on the wall is actually real posters they have in these spaces because
I wondered actually, yeah.
They actually have those posters because, you know, it's a psychological thing. If you see something over and over and over again, you're going to start going, oh, maybe I should just go home. Why am I still here? So these little things they do are actually part of what actually happens in the system. But people don't know that because, you know, I think immigration is one of the things that people try very hard to keep hidden.
There was real care and attention applied to the moments of intimacy. The overhead shot preceding their first kiss, the vulnerability, desire, all captured really well. These were poignant moments that clearly mattered to you. So speak on them.
I really wanted to see intimacy in a soft way. For me, you know, we spoke about it not being cheap, but also it being beautiful. I really wanted to see like the dark skin and just the beauty of that and how that can elevate on camera. And we also spoke about just the gentleness of what these scenes can be and how can we create intimacy in a way that doesn't feel like we're being crass or like we're showing too much. And I worked with Elle Wood, who's an intimacy coordinator, and we spoke about this, and one of the things that we did during rehearsal is we had a day when we sort of tried out different things, but she also has these great, I guess, not the activities, but like little tools to allow the actors to sort of like figure out for themselves where they're comfortable and where they're not comfortable with each other. Right. And she had, so we did a few of these activities, but they did, where for them it was about them finding their moments of where they felt intimate and moments where they were like, oh, I don't like this. I like this, I don't like this. Right. And I think that stuff helped create what we have on screen. So it helped Ronke and Anne to be able to bring a level of softness to those scenes. And equally the way we shot it, like when I spoke to Anna, DOP, about shooting the scene where they sleep together, and we spoke about just fluid camera motion. So, you know, we had a track, the camera went in, it came out, and how it would go up, it would go down. All these very fluid things that I think spoke to the poetry of the scene. But I very much wanted it to feel like classy. Because I think, you know, sometimes we don't see enough of just like black skinned people having classy sex scenes and it being soft and gentle and you kind of going, oh, that's lovely, or that's love. And so the idea was to really come from a very classy point of view and soft point of view.
No, it was definitely something I picked up on.
Yeah,
and that was there were light moments, right? You know, the Jollof Wars being a standout for me. I loved Nana. You know, she was subtly doing up fashionista with the head wraps, right? Great balance and necessary.
For me, it's about what do friendships look like. Also, with the film, I really wanted to have levity. I wanted you to laugh and feel like, should I be laughing? But yeah, you should be, because human beings cry, laugh, everything in between. Nana is one of my favorite characters because she presents as somebody who is like, oh, don't talk to me, I don't like you. But actually, she's a loving person.
Hard shell, soft center.
Exactly right? That. And I love that with Diana, she brought something in that character where the comedy isn't like laugh out funny. The comedy is like, you know when your mother has a go at you, and then she's like, come eat food. You know, she's that kind of person because you know she loves you. But I really wanted to show like different kinds of women. I was also conscious I wanted to show a dark-skinned woman who can be vulnerable. I think I don't see enough of that on screen. And who can have fun. And I wanted to show these women who can laugh. I think sometimes with immigration, we're just a bit like, oh, look at them, poor people. And you're like, okay, but people also laugh, they cry. The Jollof Wars, you know, Nigeria won because that's the way forward.
You wouldn't have it any other way, would you?
No.
Yeah, we won't get into that. It was great. It was great. Contemporary issues of the day wrapped up, coupled with the complex inherent challenges faced by those who don't identify as heterosexual, right? It's a love story, a battle against the system. In just over an hour, you captured so much.
Thank you.
I wondered what the reaction's been like around the world, particularly with Nigerians.
Well, so I've been mainly to a lot of European countries, me personally, and it's been such a mixed response. I mean, people respond to the love story. I also realize a lot of people don't know a lot about immigration. I think it's just people not realizing what it means. I think, you know, it was in one place and this lady was like, I actually don't know how you become an illegal immigrant, because she never had to think about it. You know, I was somewhere else and he was asking me a question about why people want to always go to the US and UK. Like, why don't they go to any other country? Like, what is the pull? And so it's been interesting having these conversations because for me, the good thing is that people are asking questions, and that's the point. I haven't actually gone to Nigeria because it is illegal to be gay in Nigeria. So
you did mention that in the movie. It was mentioned in the
movie. But the film did go to Ghana, where they are trying to make it illegal to be gay. So we kind of snuck in the back way. But it was an interesting conversation where, you know, obviously the topic was, why am I pushing the gay agenda in Africa, and became a whole debate. And for me, it was like, I'm not pushing any agenda. I'm just showing people that people exist. they happen to be Nigerian, Ghanaian, they're from all over the world, they just exist. And how you take that is really up to you, but also we should really dig deeper to ask ourselves, like, why are we so concerned about what other people are doing in their house if it's not affecting you, if it's not hurting you? Like, where does that really come from? And I think we're so used to this is just in relation to immigration and life in general. I think we're so used to being fed information and we're like, oh, it's true, as opposed to kind of going, let me just go learn more about why this is what the way it is. Let me go understand where this came from and why it's here. Let me understand the reasons behind this. Because actually, when you do a lot of that thinking, a lot of that work, and you begin to look at it, again, as the film says, freedom does begin in the mind in terms of when you understand how systems operate and when you understand how systems work, you then see yourself differently in that space. You then go, okay, I've been a clog in the system. I've just been going round and round and round, never thinking about why my income tax goes up, but then my man who's earning 1 billion, he's happy. And I've never bothered to fight against that. But you begin to see how unfair the system is and how it's built for you to never succeed. I think when you understand that, you then understand your place and you understand how you can fight back. So for me, a lot of the film is about how do we as individuals find our voice to make a choice for us because we have to learn the space we're in. But yeah, so that's my roundabout way.
So now I'm going to go see it on the big screen because I want to see some of those moments, on the wider screen.
Oh, thank you.
Well done. I
Thank
really
you so much.
appreciate your
I
time,
appreciate
and
it.
good luck with everything.
Thank you so much.
All right.